Let's make 12BB Coquito. Hi, I'm Jared. Welcome to Kill-Divill, where we focus on rum and cocktails. Today we're going to make the Coquito recipe from the 12-bottle bar by David Solmonson and Lesley Solmonson. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. In either case, I hope you enjoy this recipe. Coquito, sometimes called Puerto Rican eggnog, has a lot of recipes. If you look it up online, you may get thousands. And that is because it is a home brew thing. Everyone's family has a traditional Coquito recipe that they use. But to be clear, Grandma's Coquito recipe is always the best. Having said that, the recipe we're going to make today comes from the 12-bottle bar by David Solmonson and Lesley Solmonson. I do have another Coquito recipe here on the channel. Link to that will be in the description down below. It'll also be at the end of the video in case you want to compare and decide which one you like better. A note on the rum. The 12-bottle bar defines rums as either a white rum or an amber rum within their book. A white rum is a rum that looks like water, an amber rum is anything else. And this is an amber rum drink. So use any rum that you think would go well in here, and if you find something that works really well, feel free to let me know what that is in the comments down below. For me, I'm going to be using Trader Joe's Rum of the Gods tonight. A note on the recipe. There is a lot of fluid in this recipe, and I found out the hard way that it all does not fit into my current smaller blender. So I'm going to be making a half recipe today. Just learn from my example. Check out the size of your blender before you start pouring ingredients in. Also note, I'll be trying to do math while I do this, so bear with me. Check the subtitles for corrections and also check the recipe down below. That'll be correct. To make this drink, we're going to start with a little bit of water. The recipe calls for half a cup of water, so I'm going to put in a quarter cup since I'm having this recipe. Quarter cup is 2 ounces, which is 60 milliliters. And I'm using a fancy bottle. You don't have to use a fancy bottle. You can get it straight from the tap if you so desire. Next, I'm going to put in a pinch of salt. The recipe does call for a pinch of salt. I don't know how I'm going to get a pinch, half a pinch, so I'm just going to do a little thing. Cinnamon. The recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, so I'm going to be using half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Half a teaspoon is 2.5 milliliters. Blah, blah, blah. Coconut milk. I'm using light coconut milk. The recipe calls for 4 cans. Wait, I'm sorry, 4 cups. Let me double check that. 4 cups. So I'm going to put in 2 cups, and I'll do the metrics down below. I am going to have to measure this out. I'll be with you in just a moment. Next, I'm going to put in my rum. The recipe calls for 8 ounces of rum, which is 1 cup. So I'm going to put in half a cup to cut the recipe in half. And finally, sweetened condensed milk. It says 1 can. This is 1 can. It's not fluid ounces. It's 14 weight ounces. So I'm going to have, and because it calls for 1 can, I'm going to have to try and estimate what 1 can is. And this is goopy stuff. So I'll be right back with you. Note that if I was a real scientist, I would weigh this. I'm not a real scientist. Okay, all the ingredients are in the blender. So the next thing to do is seal this up, turn it on, and hope it doesn't spill. Blend until smooth. I think that's smooth enough. I'm now going to take this and put it in a sealable container. I do have fancy jars. You don't have to use fancy jars. You can use mason jars. You can use whatever you like. That's sealable. Oh, and I have a funnel there, but I don't think I'm going to need it. And I'm going to seal my sealable jar, and I'm going to put this in the refrigerator where it's going to sit overnight or 8 hours. We'll see you in the morning. 24 hours later, and the Coquito is ready. I didn't sleep for 24 hours. I just didn't feel like opening it up until tonight rather than first thing in the morning. It's got rum in it. Anyway, let's try it. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to shake it. And there's not a lot of separation in this one, but I pulled out this one, which was a couple days older. And I'll give you a close-up of that later, but you can see the layers. So sometimes you have to take something sharp and break up, because there's fat in coconut milk, you have to break the fat cap and reshake it to make sure it mixes nicely. And this one is not a big deal because it's a wider bottle. So I'm going to give it a shake anyway. And I'm glad it didn't spill all over me. There's a panic in my mind for a moment there. And I'm going to put it in any glass that I want. I have these fancy tempered glass glasses that I'd like to use for Coquito, so that's what I'm using today. Now, I'm going to wipe off my fingers quick. That's the problem with these bottles, is that sometimes they spill a little bit. Garnish. garnish, we're going to garnish with some grated nutmeg, or ground nutmeg in my case. And if you want to get fancy, a cinnamon stick. And there you have it. 12BB Coquito. Drink with good spirits. Question of the day. Does your grandmother have a coquito recipe? And is it the best on the planet? Let me know in the comments down below. Note that there are ways to support the channel if you're so inclined. I do have t-shirts. If you'd like a t-shirt, you can have a t-shirt. Contact me through any of the social media links down below and we'll make sure you get a t-shirt. While you're at the social media link, you might as well follow, subscribe, and do that sort of thing on those. Finally, if you made it this far, give me a like, give me a subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any other rum cocktails that I do. And until next time, cheers.